Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and it's been a little bit, but here I am. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing book questions, so let's just hop right in. So the first question was, what is your favorite and least favorite book? So far, my favorite book ever is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. And the reason I chose this one is because there's war in it with the King of Hybern, and Feyre tricked Tamlin. A lot of betrayal going on there, and she was just sneaky and conniving. It was just perfect. It was chef kiss. It wasn't just romance. This had the least romance so far in it, in the series. I think it might be a Court of Frost and Starlight that might have the least, but I'm not really sure. I just loved the betrayal in this, the trickery, the negotiations. Like, it wasn't just romance. It had a lot to do with the war. So this was my favorite. Y'all are gonna hate me for this. My least favorite book right now ever. The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. It's about it's got a lot of betrayal in it too. It just didn't meet up to my expectations as BookTok hyped it up. I just didn't like this because it was like modern time fae, and they had cell phones, a whole another realm, and the human world, and this was supposed to be a romance, and there was only one kiss in it. The guy bullied the girl the whole time. But I am planning to continue the series and seeing if the second book ever got better. Least favorite right here. The next question is, what book would you live in? A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This world was beautifully written, and I would probably not be a fae in the world. Like, I'm not fae now, obviously. But let me tell you, the Night Court, if I were fae, I would live in the Night Court. It's so beautiful. Velaris is so descripted, and it's just like ice mountains. I can imagine myself in a cabin in the Night Court, and it has little town shops. It's kind of like, it kind of reminds me of like Pigeon Forge, but with a lot of snow. So yeah, I would live in the Night Court, obviously. Plus, their leader is super sweet, super nice, super hot, super romantic. Like, I just could not pass up that offer. Okay, the next question was, what is your favorite young adult book? And I honestly don't have it. I read it a long time ago. I think I was like a freshman in high school, or an 8th grader. And I read Just Listen by Sarah Dessen, and it was so beautiful. It was my first ever romance read, and there is a lot to learn from that book. It kind of reminded me of Speak. There are trigger warnings, but it was super, super sweet. The next question was, what book changed your life? This book changed my life, definitely. I was going through a rough patch, and it's called You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. And this book gave really good advice. I still follow the advice, and it's just super duper great. I wanted to read her other books too. I heard a lot of bad things about this book and others, like yada yada yada, but yeah, just pick this book up if you're going through a hard time. This gave how-to guides on like how to stop self-sabotaging. The next question is, what main character do you relate to most, or are you most like? And the book I chose was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, and I chose to relate more to Nesta Archeron than the rest of the family because I used to self-sabotage, push people away when I was in pain. I can relate to the mental health stuff in here. She does a lot of self-blaming, and I do that a lot. And she reads a lot. I read a lot. It's just, she's the older sister. I'm technically the middle child, but because I have a stepfather and a stepsister, but growing up, it was just me and my little sister. So I was the oldest at one point. So yeah. And I was mean to my little sister. Nesta was mean to her little sisters. But in the end, she learns to live through her trauma. I learned to live through my trauma. So the next question was, what was your longest read? This one so far. The next question was, what book are you most embarrassed about that you like? And for me, I don't have a specific book, but if I do, I'll just put it right here. All of them. But it's anything with dark romance. That always guilt trips me. Like, oh my gosh, because I feel like my family watches these videos and yeah, so embarrassing. We're gonna go on to the next question. The next question is, what book have you most reread? And I chose Dead is the New Black. It's a series by, I think it's Marlene Perez. But I always reread this series because they're so short. And it's a YA, or I don't want to say YA. I read these in middle school and I'm still in love with them. But I am going to say YA. This reminds me of Wednesday, the TV show. And the series is about this girl named Daisy. And she has been in a family. Her dad was human and he's gone. They don't know where he is or anything like that. But she's psychic. Her family's psychic, has supernatural abilities. Everybody in town does. So this is like a supernatural town. And they're kind of used to it. This first book, she's basically helping solve mysteries and murders and stuff like that. And she's psychic. And in the first book, basically what happens was girls were disappearing one by one and their blood was like drained. They discover it's a vampire and they're trying to figure out who the vampire is and lock them up, stuff like that. But I did enjoy the series. I read the whole series and I will continue to reread the whole series. The next question is, what is your next book you plan to read? And I am currently on my next book, which is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And I'm on chapter 5 and the beginning was nothing like the movie and I'm kind of upset about it. I low-key am. Like, nothing was like the movie in the beginning anyways. I hope throughout the book it's like the movie, but a girl can dream. And yeah, I'm on chapter 5 right now. I think I'm 15% away from the end. So yeah. The next question was, what book did you read last? And the last book I read was The Art of War. And it was very interesting. It was about how, like, it was about war, basically, and strategies, and yeah. That's the gist of it. So, it was a very short read. So, yeah. The next question was, what is your favorite book series? And right now is a difficult time for me to choose because I got A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I don't have. I let my mom borrow it, and the Shatter Me series, and I am on the last book. I haven't read it yet because I'm scared to read it, but I just can't choose between the two, so I'm going to just tell you my top 2 favorite series, which is Shatter Me and A Court of Thorns and Roses. Next question was, what is your favorite classic read? And mine is The Scarlet Letter. If you haven't picked this book up, I suggest you read it. It's kind of cool. I really liked it. Basically, it's about this girl. She has a baby. She won't tell everyone who the father is, and she's single, and that's a no-no, I guess. Describes, like, I don't want to say who the father is, but you find that out in the end. And they made her wear the letter A in scarlet on her wardrobe because basically she was a whore. So yeah, that's my favorite classic read. The next question was, who are your favorite characters? My favorite characters are the Archeron sisters, Rhysand from A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Recently, Hudson became my favorite character from the Crave series. I will be explaining that pretty soon. Yeah, I just love all the characters. I don't really have a favorite though. The next question was, where do you read the most? And I would have to say in my bed at night. That's where I read the most because it's hard reading during the day with a kid. I also listen to audiobooks, and I started going to the gym recently, so I listen to my audiobooks in the gym. That's pretty cool, pretty fun. I thought I wouldn't like audiobooks, but I ended up liking them. And I'm currently listening to The Hoodie Girl. It's a Wattpad book, so yeah. The next question was, what book made you cry? I'm gonna pick the first book ever to make me tear up and cry. And it's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. The end just made me tear up. This girl went through a lot. It was totally unfair, totally uncalled for. And I just felt really, really bad for them in the end. So, if you don't know, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is about a girl named Addie. And she's from the 1400s. And she was forced to get married. She didn't get married because she went into the woods and prayed to the wrong gods, the gods at night. And she was tricked into living a very, very long life. As soon as she meets somebody and they turn around or do something, they totally forget her. But one day in 2014, she steals a book, tries to return it, and this guy had remembered her. So there's that. In the end, it was a tragedy. Well, I wouldn't say tragic, but it was very sad. And it was just like, it was so cute. And it made me cry. Another book that made me cry was, like ugly cry, was Bittersweet Memories. That one definitely made me cry because this guy and this girl meet at a cemetery. He's a little bit older and he gives really good advice to her and gets her a handkerchief. His dad had passed away and her mom had passed away. Basically, they go on with their lives. He gets kicked out and ends up in a homeless shelter. Her dad worked at that homeless shelter and decided that she needed to volunteer there. So she did, and they get a little closer until she's of age where she turns 18 and they get together, and it's super duper cute. And then the traumatic part happens and she forgets everything about herself, who he is and stuff, and ends up meeting the stepbrother of him, and they were dating. And the book is basically about him trying to get her to remember him. So that hit my heartstrings. So yeah. The next question was, what book made you laugh out loud? And I have Chasing the Skip by Henry Holt, I think. And then it says Patterson. I can't remember. I took the cover off and I wish I never did, but I kept this book because it was like one of the books that made me LOL. But basically, Chasing the Skip, this girl's dad is a bounty hunter and she ends up going with him on a trip to catch somebody. They caught him, and them two bonded. The guy, the Skip is what they call him, but they catch him and they bonded, her and the Skip, and she ends up getting betrayed in the end by letting him go. And it was just funny to me because she was like, what just happened? And yeah, there was a lot of stuff in this that made me really LOL. And I did not expect the end. So I definitely recommend this book. It's a YA. So yeah. The next question was, what book do you think has the prettiest cover? And I chose Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. And this book was great, by the way. I will explain it in my next video. But I just love the yellow. It's matte and it's got blue. And I am so in love with the yellow. Like, I've never seen a yellow book cover like this. And my favorite color is pastel yellow. And I just love how it's got them messing around on the front. It was just a really good read too. The next question was, what's your favorite coffee table book or something like that? And I really don't have one because I don't put my books on the coffee table. I do. I just put the next reads that I'm gonna read. So maybe a photo album. I don't know. The next question is, what was your favorite childhood books? And I've read since I was little. I don't have the books anymore, but I remember growing up, I would go to my treehouse and I would read the Little Critters books. That was around pre-K time. And I remember in elementary school, my favorite series were the Junie B. Jones series, the Arthur series. I really liked Arthur. I was never a fan of the Magic Treehouse. In middle school, the Dead Is series was my favorite. High school, I got into YA romance, and there wasn't really a series I got into in high school. Actually, there was one. It was the Divergent series. I really enjoyed the Divergent series. I used to have them, okay? And then I got this cat, and the cat ripped them all up. I was so heartbroken. But the Divergent series was my favorite. Looking for Alaska was my favorite in high school. There were so many books in high school. I just can't carry from Stephen King was one of my favorites. But there's just so many. Those are the main ones, though, that I can remember off the top of my head. So yeah. The very last question is, what book character would you want to marry? And since it's a video, I can't say Draco Malfoy because I only know Draco Malfoy from the movies, and I would definitely marry him in a heartbeat. But if I had to choose another, it would be Hudson from Crushed from the Crave series by Tracy Wolff. And I will be explaining the book summary in my next video, but let me just say, oh my gosh, Hudson is the type of boy I would fall in love with over and over and over again. He's just super sarcastic, very charming. He's also blonde, blue-eyed, British. See, I have a type, y'all. I have a problem. but he was just very, very sarcastic, annoying, and them two bonded, and he was super sweet at times and super helpful, super charming. And I promise I'm gonna explain this book in my next video. So yeah, so that was all the questions that I had for you guys today. And like, subscribe, comment, you know what to do. You can answer the questions in the comments if you would like. I'd like to discuss. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.